Shortly after the outbreak of war, the Department of National Defense set up a directorate known as Auxiliary Services. The problem facing this new organization was that of looking after the recreation, entertainment, and off-duty hours of the men and women of the Canadian Army. To this branch fell such many and varied responsibilities as arranging suitable sports programs, the organization of the Army shows, the distribution of motion pictures, magazines, and cigarette supplies, and the organization of hospitality clubs not only in Canadian and English cities, but eventually on the continent. In cooperation with the national voluntary organizations, this problem was satisfactorily worked out so that members of the Army need not find themselves looking for something to do. The Army's sports programs were organized in order that every soldier should be given a chance to participate, in keeping with the aim that every soldier be fighting fit and fit to fight. Early in the war, such sports became not only off-duty activities, but took their rightful place on the training syllabus as well. Learning through organized sports the importance of teamwork is one important factor contributing to Canadian Army triumphs in this war. Not exactly the sport of kings, but good sport all the same, were the donkey derbies during the Italian campaign. Not that the donkeys realized that all their jockeys held commissions in His Majesty's service. The pari-mutuels did a roaring trade. Almost any entry might be a dark horse or a dark donkey. But no favorite romped home without a little persuasion from a native wielding a switch. Another event that livened the Italian scene was the interregimental track and field meet. The boys got in a lot of practice for the jerry chasing to come. In London's Ice Palace, Monty himself up to launch the face-off in the Canadian Army Overseas Hockey Finals. Monty had seen speed almost all the way from Alamein to Berlin, but he was still impressed with the way our boys got around. Leather pushing is a sport dear to the heart of Canadian fighters and gets a big play in Canadian camps. Of course, the boys insist on calling it the manly art of self-defense. One of the most successful service sports events, organized in Canada by Auxiliary Services, was the Canadian Army National Boxing Championship, when finalists from all over Canada vied for class honors. Leave in Paris, something to write home about. You're away from home there as the Leave Center set up to provide food and lodging for the Canadian soldier at large. The hostesses are always a welcome sight and know just where to send the souvenir hunting or sightseeing Canadians. The walking tours they organized went over big, even with the infantry. duty, it was often good just to put your feet up and get in a little reading. Auxiliary services made this possible by supplying all the popular magazines. Often they were sent by special messenger right up to the front. Almost as popular as the hometown newspaper, the Army's own khaki showed up twice a month, regular as clockwork. Next to letters from home, the troops rate movies as their greatest morale builder. And here again, Auxiliary Services leads the way. Wherever Canadian forces are stationed, the latest movies are made available, often before civilian theaters in North America get them. Last year's highly successful Canadian Army art competition stirred up the artists and budding artists in uniform. The results, as displayed at the Army Art Show, proved that wearing khaki encourages a man's creative talent. The enlistment of entertainers into the active army solved the problem of getting first-class talent right up to the front lines. Behind the organization of an army show are hundreds of hours of preparation by producers, entertainers, and songwriters. As each army show unit was formed, it was made self-sufficient, carrying not only its own orchestra, but its own electricians, stagehands, cooks, and prop men as well. As the front expanded, so did the Army shows. More and more units were formed to train budding singers and dancers. Once a Nazi stronghold, this cave in Normandy was quickly turned into a troop theater capable of holding nearly 1,000 people. On stages such as this, many an Army show has strutted its stuff, with jerry shells providing a little extra accompaniment. A base hospital near Spoleto, Italy may not be your idea of the perfect setting for a musical show, but the patients proved to be an ideal audience for the Army show unit that turned up there. When one of these units is on tour, 3 shows a day is routine, and so are the risks, hardships, and nights without sleep. The end of hostilities in Europe has not meant the end of the work of the auxiliary services. As long as the Canadian Army is in action anywhere in the world, auxiliary services will carry on with the job of bringing relaxation and recreation to Canadian servicemen and women. While Canadians in khaki look forward to the brighter tomorrow, auxiliary services will continue to furnish the brighter today.